And again, I feel that Christianity is not religion. It's not a religion. And I know like it's been put in this religion box. I don't think Jesus came on this earth to start a new religion. I think he came to reveal the truth and end all false gods. And that's what I truly, truly believe is the truth. And so if I were to live that out, the most meaningful way to live my life is to live it for that purpose. If I truly love people, I should be completely fine and accepting of giving my life up or giving comfort, being accepted by everyone for this very purpose of sharing God's message.
How you love yourself, how you're going to treat yourself is how you're going to treat other people.
Narrow path is to sometimes see the truth despite your own perception.
Every believer should be a theologian. Because if he's not theologian, if he's not understanding what he believes in, how he's going to be a believer?
Sometimes do a little seeking to find something that'll give you hope.
Welcome back, everyone, to Meaning Unseen podcast. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. I have one of my best friends here. My guest today is Trevina Mitias. She's here today because she suggested to do an episode where we can get to know the host of Meaning Unseen podcast a little bit better, which is me. So today, we're going to be talking about why I started this show and who I am. Trevina, thank you so much for joining me today.
So happy to be here.
Meaning Unseen podcast.
I'm ready. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it has been. I'm glad you asked for that because I feel like it did start very abruptly.
Right. And like, I've been a fan, been watching the show every episode. And I was like, you know what? The people don't really know who you are. And there's so much to uncover. There's so much lore behind you. So, I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to have a little chat.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
people to see who you are, like outside of this podcast and like your intentions behind it.
Yeah. I think it would all be useful information and reveal a lot
about
me. Let's go.
Tell us about who you are.
When it comes to what exactly?
Okay, well, there's two, I think, really big sides of you. It's why you're doing this podcast, but also what do you do outside of this podcast?
Okay. So I was born and raised in Egypt with two parents and a brother. I lived there until I was 11 years old, and then we all immigrated to Canada. I went to a French school in Egypt, so I speak French. I continued in French schools here as well. My education journey and my career paths have changed quite a bit. I think I'm a very curious person. I just in a perfect world, I would like to try every job out there.
We'll touch on that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. I developed a big community here in Winnipeg through my careers and meeting different people. I think my broad choice of careers has exposed me to a lot of different people. And we live in Canada. It's extremely diverse here.
Right.
But big community here was the church community in Winnipeg. I'm Coptic Orthodox, which is the Egyptian Orthodox. Mm-hmm. Coptic means Egyptian, and it's very ancient language. And that's we took the Christian faith straight from church fathers and how the church was built. And we did not stray off of that too much. Or at all, I should say. But yeah, I've been exposed to just Christianity in general has become more and more fascinating to me. I feel like in Egypt, we kind of grow up having this being it's very familiar that we don't question it much. But being here, seeing the world, seeing so much diversity, like you have to question the things that you believe, and you're like, why do I believe this? And if I do believe it, like, what does that mean? And how am I supposed to live my life? So that's been a big journey.
Mm-hmm. And we actually met like through church.
We met through the Coptic Orthodox Church. Yeah.
Exactly.
I have many, many friends that are more like sisters now. They're where we can do this.
So we've been friends for quite a few years. And I got to see a very personal side of you growing up. And I fully agree with what you were saying with being curious and wanting to explore so much. I think you were always the person to question things and always ask, why are we doing XYZ? Why are things the way they are, like in our church, in life, just in general? And one of our biggest things we do when we hang out is we'll just be having fun. And then all of a sudden you come up and say, guys, let's have a deep talk. And that's kind of how our friendship has been framed for a long time. And we're very used to having these very serious conversations. I think like even when we were in grade 7, 8, like just at a very young age, we longed for that connection with all our friends, really.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to travel together quite a bit, which was really fun. So I feel like I have some expertise in the Maria universe.
If I don't know how to answer any questions today,
I got you. I'll interject.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
interject. So what do you do for work? We really never got the answer to that. And let me add this. What do you do for work, and how has that guided your spiritual journey as well?
Okay, so I think from a very young age, I was trying to prove myself for a lot of different reasons. Proving to who? I'm not sure. I think I can recall like some instances when I was younger where my brother would like joke around, like make fun of me for like not knowing certain things, or maybe not being tough enough or something. And like, I think maybe subconsciously I've developed this like, I need to prove myself thing. But then also, if you consider our cultural background, and for Egyptians, it's like, if you're not a doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not an engineer, the only final option is you're a failure. Unfortunately, that's how some people think. That's definitely not how I think. But from like both of my parents were engineers, and I think I saw engineering as like this safe path. I really enjoyed physics and math in high school. And I did good enough to get into engineering, so I just continued with that. But deep down, I've always wanted to do something like maybe be a cop, or just something more physically intense, which ended up showing up definitely in my life later on. But so I went to the University of Manitoba to complete my engineering degree. I got into mechanical engineering. And then in my second year of engineering, I decided that I wanted to join the Army. So I applied for a position in the Army that wasn't going to be so much in title. It was kind of related to engineering, but I found out later that like it probably wouldn't have been so much engineering work anyways. But then I kind of, through the application process, I changed my mind and I decided to pursue what I really thought of the Army, which is, infantry. And I barely knew anything about the infantry at that point. So
I barely know what it is still.
Let me tell you, our mission in the infantry is to close with and destroy the enemy. So pretty much you're on the ground.
Wow.
So like other people are doing things like, in vehicles, like in tanks and whatnot, like these are called armored. But our job as infantry, we're on our feet. We do most things on our feet. So pretty much if you think of any war movies you can think of, that's what infantry is. The people, like our responsibility is to kill the enemy. Which conflicts with other things inside
Maybe
me.
a little bit.
But you know what? It's a job, and like that's what I'm being trained for. And I think it's helped me like just be a soldier in my own life. And we'll get to that later. Like even in a way where I can apply it spiritually, because we are in a warfare. Yeah, like on a smaller picture, it's like country versus country and this and that. But like on a bigger picture, like let's think of eternity, and we are in some sort of war, a spiritual war. And I can apply that oomph
Yeah.
towards that war instead.
No, and definitely, like, even in your spiritual life, like, you are still up against an enemy.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how to deal with that, how to have that resolve, I think it's a very tough lesson to learn for sure.
Yeah. So I joined the army in my second year of university, and I got exposed to a few pretty good things. I've also had some difficulties, but, you know, as expected, nothing that's going to benefit you is going to be an easy thing.
No, definitely.
And I think it benefited me in a lot of ways that I didn't necessarily picture benefiting, you know, like the obvious things were like discipline and what you normally would expect. But I think it benefited me in a lot of like what leadership styles, like, you know, has the biggest influence on people and like gain the most respect and how to just, how to be a fighter, really. Within the army, I also got exposed to different units that like require you to be in the military for a while before you move forward. And I learned about this unit that specialized in intelligence. That slowly became like my goal. Okay, so I like put everything towards that. I was still gonna finish my engineering degree and everything, but even at school, I was like participating in extra curriculum stuff and like groups and events and things to, you know, be a better leader, be a better communicator, be better at teamwork, everything that I could think of. I had a super detailed plan and it slowly like continued to grow. I was like studying my own intelligence courses and I was like, this is what I want to do. And slowly I was like, yeah, I don't think engineering is necessarily the career for me. I was still going to finish studying, but I wasn't going to pursue it as a career. And that's why I didn't even take time off to like do any co-op or anything like that. I had to reach a certain rank in the military in order to apply for this unit that I wanted. So it was kind of a waiting game and just like progress. After I finished engineering, I wanted one last like a cool or a different experience to have before I jump into the force work. Into the workforce.
There you go.
I wanted one big experience before I could jump into the workforce. So I decided to apply for a firefighting program. I did that for 3 months in Ontario. It was a very different experience, like exposed me to all the, you know, emergency responders type work. And I was like, this is very different. Like, it's just crazy how like every career, like if that's all you've seen, like that's all you know. You don't know what it's like to be an engineer. You don't know what it's like to be anything else, you know? And I'm like, I don't know. There's something about the physical work that really, in general, attracted me. Like just not sitting in front of a desk and
a lot of hands-on work.
A lot of hands-on work where you can like, you know, you get into a scenario and you lose the time and then you leave and you just feel like, okay, well, I did something. But you're not thinking like, oh, like I'm bored or I'm this or I'm that. Like it's just, it's a very interactive job too. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, engineering is like plan, I don't know, E or something.
It's like everything but engineering.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
And then obviously the unit that I wanted in the army, that was plan A. And let me tell you, so I shared that pursuit with so many people. I told a lot of people I'm applying for this unit. Like, I'm so excited for it. And people could see my drive and my excitement towards it. So, and everybody had a very similar reaction, probably like except for one person I can think of. They're like, oh, you'll get in, like, no problem. Like, you're so good at this. And it was just a lot of like praise and a lot of like, there were 3 options to hear from that unit. Like, so there was a selection that had to be done. And after that, I was going to hear one of 3 options. One is you've been selected to do the course. 2, you've been like, you can apply again in X amount of years. Or 3, you can not apply again to the unit.
Right.
Okay. So, and like, if I ever mention that to someone, they're like, yeah, like worst case scenario, obviously you might get like apply again in a few years or something, which is okay. But I've genuinely, like over the time where I was planning for it for like maybe 2 years, I like internally laughed at the option that was like, yeah, you'd never get, like, don't apply again. I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm too good for that. Okay. So fast forward after my firefighting program, finally, like I was ready to do selection, got the rank that I need. And then I did selection. And then there was a misunderstanding, to just say the least. There was a misunderstanding on selection where these people believed that I cheated on something. Nobody has to believe this, but like God knows and I know I did not cheat on it. But I also understand because it was just like everything that happened just fell in the way that it happened in a really suspicious way. You know what I mean? Like it could have been avoided, but it kind of like just feels like it had to be this way. And then I was removed off selection. And then 2 weeks later, I was told never to apply again to the unit. I was so heartbroken. I think that was like the biggest just let down. Like I did not see it coming. I pictured everything the opposite. And now I was like, okay, now what do I pursue? Like, is it firefighting? Is it this? Keep in mind, I'm just dealing with this whole, like, I just lost the thing I was planning for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like a forever loss. And I also realized how much I had like built up things in my own head to like, it's like my whole worth was in this. And like,
and that's
my
what I was
whole
going to say.
plan.
Like, I remember this being like such a hyped up thing. Like that was the goal. That was the end game. So like to not have that, it was very crushing for you. And I think for like a lot of the people around you, like we were so upset for you.
Yeah.
And it was hard to see you go through that time for sure.
Yeah. So I was just applying for different jobs. I just didn't exactly know what to do. Like if I were to pursue firefighting, I would have had to do a lot more things, like do more testings and stuff. Like I wasn't like ready. Like I could have gone like maybe firefighting jobs at like airports or something like that, but not like a city firefighting job, which would have been what I want. And I remember applying for like flight attendants jobs.
Okay. I fully remember this.
Yes.
And I think like we were just hanging out and then I'll let you continue, but I think you were saying like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know which career to pursue, which route to take. And I think like a friend said, you know, in those moments, my prayer is typically like, God, please close the doors you don't want me to go to.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying, what should I do? Okay, what shouldn't I do? To kind of help narrow that down. And I'll let you say what happened after that. Do you remember?
About a closed door?
Yeah, I think it was like the flight attendant job.
Oh, the height?
Yeah. No, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, there were some like that would have been anyways like a temporary, likely. It would have been a temporary job, but still like I was just like it just shows how kind of lost I was. And I'm like, I just have an engineering degree that I'm planning to overthrow to go be a flight attendant. Like it was just not that that's bad or anything, but it's just I was lost. Like there wasn't nothing anymore that tasted good to me. It was just like whatever will take me. Yeah, so some flight attendant options were closed because I was too short, 5'2", by the way. And then other ones, like I had an interview for one, but then the interview ended up being in like Ontario or something. I ended up getting a job before that interview. Before I heard about that, I was like, yeah, I don't need to go anyways. So I met up randomly. This friend texted me and he was like, hey, there's a birthday party at this person's, whatever, someone we went to university with. So then I went and then I was like, yeah, whatever. Let's see, like, you know, old faces. And then I was talking to my friend and I just told him what had happened with the unit and everything. And then he was like, well, let me ask my boss. He's in engineering. So he works an engineering job. He's been working since he graduated. He's like, let me ask my boss and see if we're hiring. 2 weeks later, I'm like still looking for jobs. And I'm like, okay, let me just text him. So I was like, hey, did you get a chance to talk to your boss? And then he was like, yeah, I did. And they said they're not hiring right now until in August, like when we move into a new building, and then we'll look at hiring. So I was like, okay. But then he is like, might as well. He's like, you should just like send your resume to this email. And then he sent me his boss email. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, might as well. I send the email. of course, I make a typo in the email.
Ugh.
Okay. I change a .ca to .com. Okay.
No.
And then I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, he already told me they're not hiring. Like, it doesn't matter. So I see Gmail just like sending me like, your email was not received. It was not received. And then I just ignore it for the longest time. And then I'm like, I might as well just fix it. I fix it. Kid you not, 3 minutes later, my friend texts me and he's like, they're talking about you in the office. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I kind of just, I made a typo and I just sent the email now. He's like, okay, well, he just got your email and they're looking at your resume. And then he replied to me right away. He asked for a first interview, a week later, second interview, and then hired. This is a mechanical engineering job. So that's what I've been doing since then.
Great.
And we design machines that make hollow core concrete. That probably means nothing to a lot of people, but I just finished designing my first saw.
Yay.
It's just so, this whole story is so ironic because the one thing that I wanted the most was the one thing that the door closed shut and forever. And then the one thing I wanted the least was the one that opened up, and I could see why God did this.
Okay.
And I'll continue with that.
Yeah. Why did God, like, in your opinion now looking back, why do you think it happened that way?
So in previous episodes, I've mentioned how, like, for God to build you up into the person you're meant to be, you're going to get broken down. You're going to hit rock bottom in one way or another. And you might just hit it multiple times in your lifetime, you know, or many times. God tries to rid you of your ego. Like, there's so much of my pursuit for that unit. Now that I think about it, it's like, well, what was that going to say about me? And I'd encourage anybody who's like, dying for like a certain career or a certain this or that, it's like, what do you think that thing is going to tell you about yourself? Because if you really look at it, it's probably going to tell you something like, oh, you're important. Oh, you're cool. Oh, you're like tough and you're good. Okay. And I'm like, okay. And I like connected it so much to like, oh, this could be my purpose and this could be that. And it's like, deep down, that wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. I knew deep down, like, yes, there was so much self-praise that was going to come from getting into that. Even if it doesn't, I don't think any jobs are ever as good as they seem to be. Things look super attractive from the outside. I think everything from the inside has its downs and has its lows. And maybe for a lot of reasons, I could think of why that job might have not been God's plan for me. Now, for engineering, I'm just shocked, first of all, that they hired me with no co-op experience, with no really proper engineering experience. Like, I felt so unqualified to be in an engineering, field. But honestly, like, so many conversations about God like have started in that workplace, and not that they're all like received super nicely or anything, but they happen. Like, we have a good group that I think we just feel relaxed to speak about these things. And there's a few like really good believers as well in my workplace where like I think they share a little bit of that mission of like, spreading the gospel, or like we'll connect on things like, hey, like, look at what's happening in the world, and we'll connect about it spiritually, And I think also, like, God puts you in places to be a seed. In that workplace, like, there was a lot of conversations that started about God, like, and I could see people, and I feel this, like, pull to, like, bring things up. And I feel like God brought me there. And some people are genuinely curious, okay? Like, a lot of them are not. A lot of them are kind of like, I'd like to know just for information, but like I've had conversations for like hours with people who like work in the shop, for example, where we're just discussing. He's like, I just want to hear from God. Like, why he's like, in what workplace do we have these conversations and so intensely? And not that like I honestly haven't seen immediate results or anything, and not that I'm expecting any, but I do believe that all of these are seeds being planted, and I can see why God would have brought me to this place for that reason.
I really want to touch on something you said earlier, because that really resonated with me. You said like a lot of your personal value was placed on getting this intelligence job, right? So when that didn't work out, how did you feel what was your value? What was your identity at that point? And how did that change and like lead you to find God or get closer to God, I should say?
Well, I think this was an experience of really, I mean, I had no choice but to surrender this.
Right.
And I think if God was right there in my face saying like, no, Maria, I have a different plan for you, I would have been like, yeah, no, bye. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. For one, when you talk about identity in that specific moment, I mean, I knew the main reason they didn't let me because like, I mean, I believe and I think I've heard through sources that I was doing pretty good on this selection. So obviously the reason I was not picked and I did not continue the selection was that they thought I was cheating. And of course, when it comes to that type of work, it's extremely high security. So you cannot be messing around with that. So, but now in my mind, I'm like, okay, so I'm labeled as a cheater, which I know deep down, like that's not true. But whatever, there's some things that will just like come slap you in the face and you just have to take them. And that's life. Now, I think the identity change was slowly. Well, you have to accept God's plan. Like, especially, like I was praying during the pursuit years, the
Definitely.
2 years, I was praying, I was saying like, God, let it be your will. I would say, close the door if you want, but I did not mean it. I did not mean it because I have another example of a different recently now a career that I was applying for where I was actually saying that. And I think I meant it way, way more because when it didn't come, I was like, all right. Like maybe it took like half a day of being let down. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. I started asking myself, like, do I really believe that God has a better plan for me than the one I have for myself, you know? And I realized it's something like we say and we read in the Bible, like, you know, I have plans for you to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. And I'm like, no, God, I knew where my future needed to be. It's not what you chose, it's what I chose. And you just start to realize that deviation from like
You really don't know anything.
God's purpose. Yeah. And you're like, and it's all pride. It's all filled with pride. Like I know better. And that's really just a point of lack of trust is because I didn't trust that he has a better plan for me. And I'm like, well, was this you closing the door? Was this just me making a stupid mistake or like what? How do you define this? But then the more I like replayed the scenarios and like everything that happened that led to that point where they thought I was cheating, I was like, there were legit so many times that could have been avoided. But it was like, no, wait. It's like it needed to happen.
Did you feel like that realization that you really have to trust God, was that something scary for you or was that freeing or both at different times even?
Probably both. Yeah. On one hand, it's like once you realize that and you're like, okay, well, if God truly like, if God closes a door, just be okay with it. Just know that like, I don't know. There are certain things like even my dad's reaction, for example, like when I told him like what happened and he was like really disappointed in me because I feel like he himself has trouble trusting that like, okay, like maybe God closed the door. Like he just saw it as purely my mistake.
It's just a failure.
Yeah. I mean, he's just like, oh, like, are you like blacklisted from there now? And it was just like this like term, you know, like this, oh, like they don't trust you. Like he didn't exactly extend his mind to think like, okay, maybe God closed this door, you know? Like, while my mom, like, that was a different story. She was like, it's okay. Like, whatever comes and whatever goes. And I think, like, my dad himself, he's learning that. But I think it was truly, I do believe it was God closing that door.
I think so, too.
And I think the rest, like, the unexpected turn of going into engineering and all these things and starting this podcast, like, there's so many things that I, like, from this, when I was pursuing this unit, there's so many things about like persuasion, influence, and like just human intelligence, like body language. A lot of things have to do and are skills that I could be using day to day in something like the podcast and reaching out to guests in like pursuing like and persuading them to like come on and like share their testimony. And it's easier for some people, like some people just volunteer, but some people, you know, it requires a little bit more like to show the value of coming on Meaning Unseen podcast.
Speaking of which, like, what sparked you to think, hey, I really want to start this podcast?
Okay.
And follow up, why did you pick Meaning Unseen as the name?
Okay. See, I think it's a little bit blurry on the exact moment or something. I honestly never thought, like, this is too technologically challenging for me. Like, I never thought I'd be into this stuff and, like, you know, dealing with videos and recording and computers and, like, that's one of the things that I've always felt like less competent at.
But you're doing it.
But I'm doing it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is weird. It's like I don't even look at it as that. I'm like seeing the result rather than the process.
Yeah.
This is what I remember. Attending my uncle, his name was Hanny. He passed away 1.5 years ago, and he didn't have any kids. He was married. He lived in Egypt, and him and his wife had this huge service, in Egypt, and it was in a lot of different locations in Egypt. He helped children. He made books. He was a very intelligent man. He was also an engineer, and he also left this career behind to pursue service for God. And he was very intelligent, just the way he planned things and produced things. It was very, very inspiring. We've all known about his service and all of that, but attending, I was just watching his funeral online and seeing the things that people were saying about him. They were very heavy, and also, like, they just made me realize how much impact one person could have in this world and how many people need that. Mm-hmm. So he had this team of women who, like, worked with them, and they all called him and his wife, like, dad and mom. Aww. And it was just such I'm like, this man didn't have any kids, and, like, he just through his service, he, like, created this family. And, like, they literally treated them like their parents, respected them like their parents. Right. They went to him for things, and you can hear, like, in his funeral, like, testimony after testimony of, like, their experiences and the just little words that he said that have touched their lives. Mm-hmm. And there was one specific moment, and I think at this point I was, like, thinking about doing something and thinking about the problem of people, you know, walking away from God and looking the other way and not looking towards him. But I hadn't had any specific ideas of, like, podcast, this, that. But there was one thing that his wife shared. She said, you know, with Hanny, like, sometimes he would come to us and say, like, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, okay, like, what is that going to lead to? What are we going to do after that? And he would just say, I don't know yet. Like, God has not given me the next step, but he's not given me the step after that, but he's given me the next step. And all you need to know is the next step. If you have one step, just move towards that. And I just heard that, and I just felt this thing. I was like, oh, like, this thing, the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Very likely. Just like, okay, we're going to move one step at a time. Like, don't expect God to show you, you know, the end result of everything. Just start. Because wanting to see the end results, wanting to see where things are going to go, that's what paralyzes people from taking the first step. And really what's important is if you have one more step to do. So I was like, I'm going to take that and apply it. And then again, oh man, the timeline is so tricky. It's all, like, blurred out now. It's very
interconnected.
Because it's kind of weird too on, like, how far we've got. Like, this is episode number 12. That to me is wild, right? Like, I don't I'm like, when did I do all of these? Yeah. I don't know. But I just started by getting this notebook. Okay. That was my first step. And I was like, this is gonna be my, like, record anything and everything, ideas, plans, topics, everything. And then speaking of the name, I did brainstorm a few names. And then I just prayed about them for, like, a week or a few days, I think. And Meaning Unseen stood out to me right away. But I was like, okay, let's just, like, wait and see. And then I came back later and I was like, I think that's it.
That's it.
And there was just something about it because, I mean, it is really what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is to bring to light that there is meaning in life that perhaps we don't see like in the material way. And there's a lot of people that I care about who I wish they would see. And like, we're all in the struggle. We're struggling anyways. Knowing God, not knowing God, we're struggling. You might as well just do it while knowing God, because if there is an eternal life, if there's a God who loves people out there and people know nothing about him and choose to reject him all their life, I just fear for them. And so these people are people I like, people I deal with every day. And yeah.
So would you say like that's kind of the gap in like the conversation that you're hoping to fill?
Yeah, I think the gap in conversations about faith in general nowadays is that everybody just wants to say your truth, my truth. And legit, like, I don't think that makes sense. Like, rationally, I get it. I get it that, like, we're all, like, we were all raised up in different environments. We've all had different life experiences. And when you say your truth, we're not talking about, like, maybe objective truth, but we're talking about what you can rationalize as truth. And like, if you can't rationalize it as truth, then it's just not going to be truth for you. But that's not the truth we're talking about. That's not the truth I'm talking about. That's not the truth that Jesus is talking about when he says, I am the truth. I think just like we can study science, just like we can perceive something about sunlight, but then if you go look up numbers, it's like, oh, it actually takes it like however many years or minutes, or I don't know the actual fact.
Me neither.
But you know, it takes that long to actually for you to see it. So you're actually seeing the light like that long ago. And it's like, okay, see how there is a reality to things. It's not all what we perceive. So your life, our experiences, that's just what we're perceiving, but it's not necessarily reality. And if people don't differentiate between these, they'll be in trouble, because if there is more to life than just the materialistic world, like, I hope people would open their eyes to it. I think it's so, so, so important.
I agree. And I'll say too, I've really enjoyed the guests you've had on the show. So my question to you is, what stands out in a guest that makes you think, hey, this would be, or just a person in general that would makes you think like, I want this person to come tell their story or just to speak on the podcast?
Initially, I decided to bring on guests who, I kind of limited it to that, to bring on guests who have felt the love of Christ, who have been transformed. And the idea of this is to bring to light to people who don't know God, to see some sort of commonality in the way people who have met Christ, have fallen, have been transformed by him and by his love, like would recognize, oh, there's something different there. Because I realized like I'm obviously open to talk about this stuff, and I'm passionate about it, and I work about it. I talk about it in my workplaces, and like I often fall into conversations. I mean, I guess people, again, they have this block where they just can't, they're not interested in evidence. They're not interested. They're just not interested in the topic.
Right.
And you could like, there's only so much you can say to someone who's not interested in the topic, right? And then a lot of these people will claim like, oh, I'm searching, I'm open to finding God. But it's like, you don't exactly, if you think this is open, I don't think you're going to find God this way, because you're not actually open to this idea. Because if somebody presents you with like a good, like, I think we should just talk about it. Sorry, going back to the last question, the gap is that people don't want to talk about this anymore. Like a conversation could start and end with no evidence, no fact. And everybody's like, oh, I believe in science, I believe in facts, I believe in this. And it's like, let's talk about God. Like, there are things to discuss there. It's not when we live in a world where we have philosophers and big scientists and big guys, you know, who've spent their life like studying either why I'm an atheist, let me disprove God. And the question is there. It's not like it's been figured out. And I can guarantee that there's probably like 99.9% of atheists are not confident about what they believe in. They're not confident that there is no God. They can't say with 100% certainty. Just like they can't say with 100% certainty that there is. Atheism is its own belief system. And some people will argue with that, but that's my belief. You're saying, I know there is no God. But if you really look, like, what evidence do you have to tell you that? And like, okay, let's at least explore your position. But the question is big and it's unanswered. From an objective point of view, it's unanswered. So don't be so sure that there is no God.
Right.
Because of these conversations, kind of like when I have these conversations with people who are not exactly curious, I was like, I don't think that's the way to approach this. I think if they come from a completely different background and completely different life and everything, and they've somehow also still landed on Jesus Christ, I'm like, maybe that will bring light to people. Now, I think and I hope that this would evolve into bringing on guests who are curious, even if they are not believers,
right?
Even if they like believe in different religions. But if we are here to have a good, rational conversation that is not based on debate, then I'm also very much willing to have these people on the podcast so we can talk about it. Also for viewers, like if anybody has recommendations of guests, like please like leave it in comments, let me know, DM me, and I can bring on people. Let me know what things you guys want to talk about, what you want to hear about. And if there are any experts that you want to hear from, I could try.
I think definitely it is a lot more of a conversation that needs to be had rather than a debate.
Yeah.
You know, I think in a world where everyone is so divided and there's so much we can fight on, having a little bit of understanding, a little bit of empathy goes such a long way. Like, as you said, we all come from different backgrounds. We've all had different life experiences, that just to have a little bit of a connection between two people is always beneficial, is always going to drive the conversation forward rather than just stop it. You and I are different. That's it. We can't talk about anything.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there is such a connector in the human experience.
Yeah.
Like, we've all had hardships. We've all had people we love. We all have, you know, goals, dreams. Like, we're not as different as I think people like to paint different cultures, different religions to be.
Like, what do we all want at the end of the day? Like,
right.
to feel loved, like
feel happy, feel supported, feel loved, feel cared for. Like, these are all things that everyone can generally agree on, you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely respect that in you and your mission and what you're trying to do here. I want to ask you, what does your personal relationship with God look like at this moment? And how has that changed over the years?
At this moment.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. I'm imperfect in so many ways. And I'm struggling, and I would argue that I'm struggling like as much as a lot of other people. But I don't think that ever takes away that importance. Like, I've had to ask myself at one point, if what I believe to be true is true, what am I to do with my life? Like, how am I to live my life? And I was just mentioned in my last episode that, like, at one point I'm like, do I want to make this thing my whole identity? Like, just tell people about God, and like, and it just feels like kind of, you know, like, when am I gonna live my own life, my own pursuits? But like, more and more I'm like, yeah, let this be your identity, let this be who you are. Like, if we're talking about heaven and hell and God and Satan, it's so important to be proactive in this. Like, I think it's just so hard for me to be intellectually honest and say, I believe in this, and then have my life mission have nothing to do with letting other people know. I think it would just mean I don't love other people. I struggle with sin a lot. I struggle with addictions. Social media has been a big one of them, because like, and I use this podcast as an excuse a lot. It's like, well, it gives me more ideas. It gives me more this, more that. And I think it takes away from my time with God and my time in solitude. I struggle with substances, nicotine, weed. I'm asking God to like help me, free me from these things. I just want to eliminate these things from my life. It's not like, I know a lot of people are just happy with just keeping things in moderation. I just don't think, especially with weed, a lot of the times I feel like that just needs to be eliminated completely, because I truly think whenever I am high, it's like I'm not exactly myself. Like it causes so many things. It has this illusion of it's gonna do this and that to you, and you're like excited to do it. But then it like takes so many things away. It makes you more lazy. It makes you more like just not aware, and like, you know, of course, cloudy, and it's just, God gave us a sober mind. Why do I need that at any point? Even if it's very little, why do I need that to do anything, to complete a task or anything? Like a lot of the times I felt like I'm being spiritually targeted, and it would make sense because my mission right now is just, it got bigger than I thought. And I'm totally fine with that. But I also understand, like I've had my cousin, for example, say like, how could you do a podcast about God and while you smoke weed sometimes? I can see why someone would say that, but I also don't agree at all, because I think like that's giving into the devil's way. Like, oh, you're so imperfect. Like, here I am on the podcast sharing about this thing. I'm not trying to hide it. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm struggling myself. Like, this is the love of the flesh. That's real. Like, that's a war.
But you're a work in progress.
Exactly.
And
you're
like,
a work in progress. And I don't want to just say like, oh, well, you know what? I don't need to tell people about Jesus because I'm struggling with this thing. No, like I don't see these things necessarily related.
And they're not mutually exclusive.
Like you can show up and just be as real as you can be. And at some points, like I felt like maybe things in my life, like careers I'm trying to get into, like they would stop me from being open about something like that. But honestly, thank God he closed these doors. And now
you can share your story.
Yeah, I'm okay sharing my story. Like it's a struggle. Like also so many people smoke weed a ton, you know? And like people have made so many excuses like about it that like I'll do it, but I'm not going to give excuses for it. I'm not going to say no, like it's good. I'm not going to go there because I genuinely don't think it is.
Right.
I genuinely think like you're shutting the Holy Spirit in you when you do that. There are other things in my life and about God where when I was younger, I guess like around in high school and stuff, I just thought, whatever, you know, I was so into the world's way. I was like, it doesn't matter. Like purity this, purity that, who cares? Like everybody does it. Makes you feel cool, makes you feel wanted. And I think that's something that has been changing quite a bit in me. This understanding and this defeat over lust. Again, I'm by no means perfect, but I really recognize that. Like, I think I'm doing much, much better in that than in substance use.
Great.
Yeah, so it makes so much sense. And it feels so wrong, you know, to be, you know, watching pornography or like even just premarital sex and like these things at some point, like in high school, like it was just like, whatever. Like, and I can't understand now looking back at it. I'm like, where did you get this like boldness to do what's impure and say it's fine? And that went on for like years, right?
Right. I think it goes back to what you were saying with, you know, it's hard to have a full end goal in mind and it can be like very overwhelming at times, but it's just take one more step forward, try to be better today than you were yesterday. And if you weren't, okay, tomorrow's a new day, you know? I think progress is never linear. It's full of ups and downs, and just the more you work at it, the stronger you are and the stronger your relationship with Christ gets.
I think also like that moment of feeling like, oh, you're not good enough to like go close to God, or you feel like, oh, I can't do this thing because I'm actually sinning in this area, or I can't do, like you're like disqualified to be a disciple. And I think that's such a trick and like a guilt trip from the devil to tell you like, you can't do it. Look how horrible you are. Like he'll manipulate you into falling into sin, and then he will blame you for it, that you can't come out. And then you start pushing things away. You're like, well, okay, I don't have to do that, or I can't do that. I can't pray because I just committed the sin. Like I'm so unholy and impure, and I can't go there with God. But like that's the last thing you want to do. Like you want to go straight back to God. You fall, you just get up. You fall, you get up. Fall, get up. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. You just keep doing it. Never, like if you ever get to a point where you're like, that's it, just remember, because the devil's goal is to make you hopeless and to make you fall in sin forever and just give up and live in it. And sin leads to death. And we don't want that. Amen?
Amen. So, what doubts do you say you still have in you? Or like what questions are really lingering and, are giving you a hard time?
I think the question of who to marry.
Great question.
That's a really big one. Like I can see a lot of things. So for example, like you can see my passion in, like if I have to commit my whole life to something like this.
Something like
this, yes.
The podcast.
I'm willing.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm not saying I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Don't worry. I hope my job doesn't think I'm gonna quit. But you know what I mean? Like if this is the trajectory that my life takes, I am willing for this to be like a full-time thing. To just have that be my mission. I'm willing for my mission not to have to do with any of the specific careers I studied or was striving for, and to just have to do with like, okay, let's, make a podcast, tell people about Christ. Now, I wonder like if my partner has to have that exact same willingness,
okay,
or level of willingness. And there's a lot of things in my life that just like pull me back and forth, because I can see a lot of couples, even including my dad. Like I think my dad's relationship with God grew a lot through the years. And sometimes I question, I'm like, what if my mom, like when she met him, she was like, no, this guy doesn't go to church enough, I'm done. Then I wouldn't be here. Right? But then like, who am I to tell? And how do you tell? Like, it's such a difficult, how do you tell is you pray about it.
Right.
That's at the end of the day, this is the answer, but it just takes a lot of patience. And I'm just waiting for God to reveal something concrete to me, because I've been through the emotional ups and downs and the making decisions and going back on them. And I just don't think that's the way. I think I just need to be sure that, okay, this is what God wants. Seeking spiritual guidance in this process, I think, is very, very important. It's so strange and it's so complicated. It's probably simpler if I knew exactly, what God was thinking and where. But also, I don't want to undermine like what God is taking me through, right? Because my experiences this far have been the way they have been. Like, it was probably for a reason. And it's probably something that's going to teach me something that I could probably teach my kids in the future when they're choosing their life partner. They're probably not going to listen because everybody has to experience things themselves.
That's very true.
But it's teaching me something. And who knows what it's teaching on the other end as well, Like, my partner right now, like, who knows what he's taking through all of this. And again, it's just a question of surrender. So is it surrendering to God? It's like an everyday task. It's an everyday choice. Even when you're like thinking of committing any sort of sin, you just have to think, God's will is for me not to do this. Will I surrender to his will in this moment, or will I choose my flesh, or will I choose this and that? Well, obviously the question of marriage, like, please God, I don't want to get that one wrong.
It's the biggest decision of your life.
It's the biggest decision of your life. And I do believe God can transform a lot.
100%.
Like, God can transform things like beyond what I could imagine. I also always have thought about like people who like, you know, years into marriage, and this like very committed wife has been praying for her husband for years, you know, and praying and praying and praying. And then finally at like, I don't know, when he's 60, he just, something clicks. And then he's like, okay, God, I'm all yours.
Right.
And I wonder at times, like, how did people get in that position to begin with, right? And I think it's one thing to be like moving into a relationship with somebody who doesn't share the values at all. I don't think that's a good idea. But God transforms people. And it's another thing when somebody is like, he's trying to be devout, but it's a process, it's a journey. And it's like, what do you know about how God is going to develop things into something so beautiful?
How do you navigate the moments when you feel spiritually disconnected, distant from God, or like you're just having a really hard time surrendering to his will?
What I do, I guess it's not always the same.
Okay.
Sometimes I go to prayer. Sometimes I try to numb myself. Sometimes I just reach out to people that I love. Sometimes I just go talk to my dog, Olaf.
Shout out Olaf.
Shout out Olaf. He made it on the podcast.
Yay.
But like, it's not, I guess, a straightforward answer. Sometimes I bury myself in work.
Escape,
yep. But generally speaking, I guess like what I should do is just go back to prayer, go back to talking to God. Like when everything is blurred, like he's the one who has the truth.
But how do you just push through the struggle of feeling like God abandoned me right now? I'm not feeling God in my life. I'm not seeing his will. Nothing is, you know, going how I thought it would at all.
You know what I realize really, really helps in moments like that is when you help someone else. Because I think that brings so much light to like just go buy a homeless man a meal. These things have genuinely brought joy into my heart. Like it could be the worst day, but it's like, it could be such a light. And then you hear about like other people's stories. And then you look at your life and you're like, praise God. Like I have so much. I have so much. And even if I'm blinded in this moment and I just can't see all the blessings, like seeing other people not having nearly as much and like struggling, like being brought up in like abusive families, and like there's some crazy stuff. People are dealt very different cards in this life. And like to look at someone who's been like in surgeries in and out since they were like 2, and they're sharing about it with joy, or like people with like no limbs and they're thanking God. And it's like, okay, I just need to stop.
It's like, what's your excuse?
I need to stop talking.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
yeah.
So I think, not that that's always like, not like the second I have a bad day, I just find a homeless man to buy him food. But generally speaking, like even just going on social media and seeing some of the stuff people deal with, it's like, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think gratitude has definitely been the biggest thing for me too. Like when I'm feeling really, you know, over everything.
Yeah.
I just finding something to be thankful for.
Exactly.
It's just like, oh, maybe it doesn't all suck.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's also recognizing this, nothing lasts.
No, for sure.
The good doesn't last. The bad also doesn't last. So I think this is something that continues to like, I continue to pay attention more to this, is that when I feel like things are going so wrong, they're not actually going wrong. It's just in my head.
Yeah.
It's just that awareness, like things could just be in your head. Like your extreme excitement could just be in your head. It's just like the events of the day led to this. You know, when you sometimes feel like upset and down, but you can't remember what just happened to make me feel this way. It's like, you know, there was a specific interaction or something, but you're like, can't pinpoint.
You're just still feeling this, like the upsetness for no reason.
Yeah. But then it's like, so it's little things like you can gain so many little like interactions, or like, oh, this person gave me a weird look, or like just little things. And then you're like, oh, I'm having a bad day. And then like just slow down. You like bring yourself outside, like put yourself in a bird's eye view. And then you'll see like you're fine. Like today is just the same as yesterday, and you were very happy yesterday. So it's okay.
And there's really like so many blessings that you can look at in your life.
Exactly.
Every success, of course, is a blessing, but also every failure is a blessing. Every loss is a blessing in some way. It's hard to see that for sure, but you know, there's always something to be learned, something to be gained.
Absolutely. And people in your life too. Like people are such a blessing. Like, being alone and like not feeling surrounded by like family, friends, people who love you, people you love. I think that's just a very, very difficult thing. It makes people feel like maybe God is not even watching, but even just seeing the people around you, like even just my parents' love for me, it makes me, and it reminds me all the time of God's love for me. It's like, if they love me this much, they sacrifice for me this much. Like, imagine God.
What do you think people misunderstand about you?
You're going to help me with that one.
Okay. Do you want me to go?
Go for it.
Okay. I think you come off as very confident, very, sometimes to be honest, but very sure of yourself. And I think to an extent you are, but I think people don't see like how much work you put into yourself, how much you really care, right? Like, it comes off that you are so like 100% certain of this is who you are. But I don't think people see how much you've evolved and how much you are willing to listen and understand, and you know, you're constantly changing, constantly seeking to better yourself mentally, physically, all of these ways, spiritually. So I also very much commend you for that, and being curious, being excited to learn, excited to understand more about yourself, but also the world around you, people around you. There's this seeking of connection, seeking of community at all times. Do you agree?
I do agree. Yeah, I do agree that like I reflect a lot about like, even if I pretend like, oh, I didn't like a specific interaction or something, like I'll go back and with myself, I'll be like, did I do the right thing? Was I mean? Was I this? Could I've done it better? So I would agree with that. And I can definitely see how I come off too confident or like unchanging in my ways. Like I can't change my ways.
But I want to reiterate that I don't think that confidence is necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it is something that draws people to you for sure, you know? And I think it is sometimes a fake it till you make it situation too.
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Right?
But I feel like I give a lot of thought to the things. Like, I feel like I usually have a reason for thinking what I'm thinking. You know, it's not like because I feel like it.
Right.
You know, it's like, no, I've thought about this.
There's a lot of background stuff going on.
That's what it is. And maybe I change my mind later, but it's like, no, that's.
And that's a good thing, you know, to know when to admit that you were wrong, or to know when to like have to rethink a situation and reevaluate, you know, did I do the right thing? Did I act the right way? So good for you.
Thanks, girl.
You're welcome. What's one thing you learned about God that completely changed your worldview?
So, because Canada is so diverse, I've had this like distant thought of like, does Jesus Christ really want to meet everyone? Is his will to truly save everyone? And it's like, I'm like thinking about, you know, the people who are extremely like into different religions and this and that. And I'm like, does Jesus want this person? You know, does he have the same love for them that he has for me? And like, he wants to pursue them in the same way. But there was just a gap in my thinking. I'm like, it kind of feels like, does he? Like, they're so far from it, you know? They're so deep into different beliefs. Like, how will they ever be reached? But I think it's that realization and like coming to the understanding, like, God truly cares about every single heart out there. And if Jesus Christ is the truth, which I believe he is, he wants all these souls to know about him. And through who? And through what? Through Christians who will be a salt and light of this earth. So I think that shift in it's kind of just like admitting that reality. Like he truly wants to know everyone. Even the ones that have never, ever, ever looked at the possibility of him existing.
Right. That's a big responsibility too.
Yeah. For Christians.
Yeah.
It's a huge responsibility. And I don't think most Christians realize that what our task is here on this earth. We don't. That's not our first thought.
Right.
And like, again, like you said, it's a big responsibility. People don't like responsibilities.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to say it's none of my business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially to be, accepted and, I don't confront people. I just don't enter these, touchy places because someone will get upset or someone will say, why are you trying to convert me? Why? But like, we have a responsibility to speak the truth if you believe it's the truth. But if you don't, you should probably figure that out as well, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
People will share it in different ways. Not everybody's gonna create a podcast and start doing this. By no means is that like what I expect people to do, but I think in a lot of different ways, like people are hungry, people are hurt. Like how many times have you come across somebody like so desperate or in a dark place, but you never really thought about sharing the gospel, sharing the hope with them about Christ because you knew they were a Hindu and you're like, I'm just not going to overstep. But it's like, it's the truth is what we believe.
Well, yeah. How has God softened or transformed parts of you that you didn't even know needed healing?
In multiple ways, I'd say, I think the most important, the most critical thing, seeing how my life, seeing the trajectory and the plan that I had put for myself and like being so egotistical about it and feeling like, oh, this would mean all of these things about me. I think him bringing me down, like ego, I think our ego needs healing and pride. Like we just need healing when it comes to that. We just need to understand where we actually stand, which is not as high as we think, but we're also not as low. Like God wants to partner with us to do things for the kingdom. And you can do that through an engineering job. You can do it through emergency response jobs. Like you can do it through so many ways. You can do it through being an artist, a singer. Like there are endless ways to do God's will. But at the end of the day, like God wants to partner with you to do his will.
I think one time you told me too, like you feel that your faith journey has also softened your heart towards other people. Like you see other people through God's eyes sometimes, like even if you're having an argument, a disagreement or something with someone, you could still see God's child in them.
Yeah.
And that was very, very cool to me.
It's so easy for us with so much evil in the world. Like we look around, like people are killing people, like the shooting that just happened in Sydney. It's so easy to look at, these shooters and be like, oh, like swear at them, be rude to them. Like just in our talking about them, like how could they, like they must be this and that. But like our position, like these people are just so lost and so integrated in evil. And I get it. You just want to let off some steam and yell. They don't hear it anyways. You're just singing in your own home. But like our God, as much as like this is so hard to do, he calls us to love these people.
Right.
It's so hard to do. But like, even if I can't say anything, loving towards it, I'd probably rather not say anything. Because you can just see brokenness in the world. And it's hard to look at people who are so lost and evil in their ways like that. And you say like, oh, I hope God saves them. I hope they find Jesus, It's hard. I get it. Because you're almost like, I hope you don't. But Unfortunately, that's the kind of love we're dealing with. Like, realize that Jesus Christ died for every single person, not just for the good ones. He died for the most broken ones.
And it's not up to you to decide who deserves saving and who doesn't.
Exactly. And like, people will say, and again, I get it. They look at the most evil people in history and be like, are you saying your God would forgive them if they repent? Yes, he would. Because he's a loving God. If they truly repent. I think in their head, they're like, well, we think in a worldly way, right?
Yeah.
It's like there has to be consequences. And trust me, there's consequences. Like, there's consequences to evil, even on earth. And like, the people who are really, really lost, some people will not be found. And there will be eternal consequences. So it's a heavy position to be in. And it's a big ask from our God. But like, he's the perfect example. And none of us, if God were to get rid of evil, he would come down to every single one of us, including myself. He would get rid of me if he wanted to get rid of evil, because whether I like it or not, there is evil in me.
But I think there is hope too, right?
Absolutely. But that's why we need Christ.
Exactly.
Like, we just need him.
Exactly. Where do you see this mission of meaning unseen in 1 year, 5 years even?
I hope I just keep looking at the one next step, episode after episode. Thank God. God is helping me a lot. Like, again, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I had the willingness and the time to get where we are today. I pray that God would bring me across experts in things, because I know, like, obviously, like, the audience would want to see, or the viewers of Meaning Unseen would want to see experts speaking. Like, if we want to hit faith from an objective perspective and from a rational perspective, I want to bring on people who can talk about things like addiction, people who can talk about things like even stuff like witchcraft, or just explore this world of spirituality and materialism, and also see like how everything connects. Because I truly think everything is so connected. It's either God or science, or it's either like, oh, you can explain it psychologically, or it's spiritual. No, like, they can both be a thing. Like, our reality, our physical world means something.
And they
And
work hand in hand a lot of the time.
all of the time. Like, all of the time. Everything we do physically, like, it has some spiritual effect on us.
Okay. Maria, I gotta tell you, you've been a wonderful guest.
Oh, wow.
You've answered all my questions with such grace, and I've really learned a lot from you. And my last question is, what meaning have you found that was once unseen to you?
Good question.
Thank you.
There's just so much to learn in life. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to stop learning. Things change all the time. Like, my thinking evolves a lot. Who I want to bring on the podcast. This podcast have made me see a lot, and has like fed this passion of sharing the gospel and the importance of that. And honestly, with everything I see around the world, like how we're moving towards all the movement towards technology, and I mean, we've been moving towards technology, but all the movement towards like AI and all these things, I think like we live in very, very critical times, and we have a very fragile society. And we can see that from something like COVID. Like, everything could turn upside down overnight. With all our advancement, that's how uncertain life remains, right? Nobody can guarantee they're not going to die the next day, right? So I can just see the importance. I can see so much heartache in the world, and so many people, whether they know it or not, are seeking Jesus. And again, I feel that Christianity is not religion. It's not a religion. And I know, like, it's been put in this religion box. I don't think Jesus came on this earth to start a new religion. I think he came to reveal the truth and end all false gods. And that's what I truly, truly believe is the truth. And so if I were to live that out, I think the most meaningful way to live my life is to live it for that purpose. If I truly love people, I should be completely fine and accepting of giving my life up or giving comfort, being accepted by everyone for this very purpose of sharing God's message.
Good for you. You're doing it.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Of course, my pleasure.
It's been fun.
It is. I like being on this side.
I like being on this side. I would say this episode took the least planning on my end. Yeah, it's been fun.
I agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.